channel, YouTube Vintage Stereo Collectors and Restorers. This is the Knight KG60, and I'm just starting in on the power supply. There were two of these old cherry bombs mounted here, with leads going to this board. These are two 1000 microfarad 25 volt capacitors. Common red, same with this one, ditto. And there's not a chance of those being any good. I haven't even turned it on and listened to it because those caps are trouble, okay? So don't try to reform them or do anything. They're useless at this point in the game. We're talking stuff that's now over 60 years old. What we're going to do instead, we're going to put a couple small terminal strips there on that steel piece and four 1000 microfarad 50 volt caps on the schematic, which is right here. Shows the caps right there. And they're floating around 23.5 volts. So 50 volt actually is a good idea. Those probably, my guess is this thing started to go strange in the first 5 years of its life. Those caps are a weak point. There's another one further down. We're going to use the 45 watt Weller. I actually just tried another video where I used a 100 watt Weller soldering gun. You know the kind I'm talking about? And I couldn't get the solder to stick with those. Even at the 100 watt setting. It's like, what? Something about those. When they age, they seem to drop in current. So all we're doing here is just a little burnishment for the pieces. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I prefer this to drilling holes, to be honest, because you will get a good ground. Always get a good ground this way. Hold it there. There's one. That should be enough. Oh yeah. I don't want them too close to the top of the lid. So the other one is going to go there. I'm using the smaller ones because I've been having trouble getting good terminal strips. I had some from Tube Depot that were really good, and they can't get those ones anymore. So these are sort of a substitution. Tube Depot is a pretty good store. So we're just melting that. Make sure you grab the center one that you're heating up, right? Yeah, see, this has no trouble melting that. There we go. You know, if down the road somebody decides that those don't belong there, well, they desolder it, clean up what's there. So, basically the way the circuit runs is, comes off the rectifier into one 1000 microfarad, 100 ohm resistor to another one, and back. So I don't think many of these leads are going to... These are so tight already, I'm going to run new wires over to the board here. But there we go, that's on. Like, that's on. That'll really last. Here's something you find inside these. This terminal board here, the slotted terminals, where the resistors, diodes pop in. I don't know if you've ever worked on some Japanese guitar amps, bass amps. The stuff from Yorkville Sound, they used to use these. It's a little different technique to work on. In fact, we used to use them at the telephone company. As a patch, you know, part of a patch panel. But we didn't solder them. They were punched on, just held by the tension. But to take the wire out, you basically do that. This one's way too short to go to the terminal board. For some reason, they just really kept the wires short. What you do is you go to Amazon or wherever, and you buy some of this hookup wire so you can match the colors. That's what I do. I try to match it with what's there versus what's on the schematic. So this one here, I'll show you how you put one of these in. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a twist, like that. Tin it a bit, like that. And then remember where it went in. Well, it goes in there. What I basically do is just heat it up, slot it in like that. Sorry if my hand's in the way, but there it is. Gotta be a little bit careful. There's 4 diodes here, and they look like they've been replaced. They don't look like the old. This may have had, you know, those metal cased germanium type diodes. Might have had those. Hard to say. So that goes there. So what I'm doing is I'm using the through hole on these little terminal boards. Hand out of the way. See it? Just put it through like that. And then I'm soldering it into the through hole. That way you could actually, like, then you can add the capacitor later or any extra wires. It's good for testing this way. Someday down the road, somebody wants to test things, they can unsolder a cap and still have the lead here. Just flow it in like that. And I noticed I made a little mistake on this. This is what happens when you do things too early in the morning. That one belongs there. Because it's positive ground, the chassis, you gotta remember that, how do I put it? By going what it says on here, common, red, common, positive, black, and green are both negatives. And in the schematic, the 2 positives are, of course, twinned. So that's why there's a jumper on there. Now we have this green wire. Where does it go? Oh my, I'm supposed to be able to get in at this? Really? Really now? Oh boy. Well, we move stuff out of the way as best we can. Wow. And it's the bottom wire in that little notch. Well, let's do what we can. Oh, we're going to have to come through here. My cord's wrapped around the table leg. We're going to have to come through here very carefully. Just touch it and let it heat. Come on. Got it. Very good. Better not be touching anything. That's really like, ugh. Of course, the lead going to the collector on that transistor, it's just barely long enough. Okay. Get some green wire here. Yeah. Let's tin it. About the hair hanging on the solder. What I want to have to do is sort of slide it in. No, this isn't going to work. I'm going to have to take that red one out and then put it back in. Because it's on top. Oh my gosh. Really? Put that off. Okay. Get down the groove here. You gotta get into the groove. Good. This business, hobby, it pays to be able to switch your hands around. I bet you can't even guess which handed I am. Because I do things with both hands. This lug here had turned completely green. It was something to do with the insulation. There's some kind of an oil that was released from this white wire. So I desoldered it, trimmed everything back and put it back on. Just didn't like that green. There's also, you see this is goes to the 120 volt power switch. This had an area burned through right to copper, and it's right where the lid is, right? Right where you could touch it. Okay, so I'm going to put those caps on. That's pretty easy to do. And then move on to the next section. Thanks for watching and listening.